Much for coming. I know that there's still more people. Some of my friends from cohort 3 will be here probably in like 10 minutes. But basically, I traveled from New York to South Africa to Italy, and then I got asked to return to Italy, and then I came back. And so my whole presentation or my whole project was about, technically it's about music intervention or music exposure as I would call it. So I wanted to kind of just open up with your thoughts on this. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. So with music, in 1779, John Newton wrote that song. It's one of the most recognizable hymnals in the whole wide world. It was translated in over 50 different languages. So for you guys, I just came out with that song. What happened at that moment?
I was not ready, but that was beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah. Made me think of 4th of July.
Oh, really? Well, the reason why I did it because I had this thought of, what does music do? It definitely changed the atmosphere, right? Mm-hmm. Music definitely speaks to multitudes. It brings people together. And I actually really believe that melody plus words is powerful. And so I sang that song, and I'm pretty sure if I sang that in Africa, if I sang that in Italy, if I sang that in Vietnam, if I sang that in Peru, people would recognize the music. Because I believe that music is a universal language that everybody can understand. So this is South Africa. It was my first destination. These kids are from Sinatemba. How cute are they in their little outfits? Basically, Sinatemba means we have hope. It's basically a safe haven where a woman, I called her Mama. She basically had a heart for the children, and she was from the streets as well. So she decided when she got older that Mama and her husband Tata, that's his name, they would open housing for kids on the streets and take care of them until they turned about 20. So I wanted to show you a quick clip so you get a better idea of what this organization is about, because you will most likely definitely want to get to know what services you're doing while you're abroad. Oh, the volume's not on. Hold on one. Yes. Oh, there it goes. Oh no. I'm going to forward it because it's just too...
Power trafficking, life and death. This is Sinatemba. It is a home to 26 children. There's 17 boys and there's 9 girls. But most of them have been neglected. They've been abused. They've been abandoned. But right here at Sinatemba, they find a safe haven. Mama Signoria, with the help of her husband and volunteers, provide a stable home environment for the children growing up and looks after them up until the age of 20. I have met the lady, the woman behind giving hope to these 26 children, and it's Mama Signoria. Mama, tell us, what motivated you? What inspired you to do this?
The thing that motivated me a lot at the age of 6 up to 17, I spent the whole 10 years as a street child on the street. My mother was an alcoholic woman. She has no condition to raise me up. And I didn't know my father was. I didn't want to see each and every, even one child, to taste the life that I tasted before. That's why I gave my life with him.
Lachey's mother, a prostitute and alcoholic, left her in the middle of the street to get run over. She was only 1.5 years old. Although each child has a different story about how they came about staying at Sinathemba, a common thread in their lives is the positive effect that Mama has had on all of them.
What I like the most in Sinathemba, I like Mama because Mama helped me. I was so young and my mother left me in the house.
Teach us the right things and not to speak wrong to other guys and not to play with bad guys at school.
Mama encourages working together as a team. Each child has daily tests which build strong personal relationships amongst the children, and it solidifies the feeling of a family unit.
Mama gave me a big help, and I appreciated what she did to me. So now I take Mama as my family, I take her as my mother and my father.
I feel like part of Sinathemba because everyone chats and everyone hangs out together.
One of Mama's biggest goals at Sinathemba is to empower her kids through education so that they can create a sustainable living for themselves when they are older.
What I want for them, to give them education, to be the better citizen of South Africa by education, to give them life, to give them hope.
When I grow up, I want to be a social worker. I want to make a nurse.
I want to be an artist and design clothes.
Mama has inspired and given these children hope for a bright future. However, these kids have foundations for a successful education. The aid provided by the volunteers at the Community Service Learning course is a start to improving these learners' levels of education. But much more is needed to be done, and this is one of the many challenges that Sinathemba is facing. The home relies heavily on funding and donations to feed, to clothe, and look after these children. This is becoming increasingly difficult with the lack of support.
There's no regular funding coming in. Our local municipality, with their grant in aid, we were supposed to let us have funding in November. We've had nothing from them. And the municipality is in financial trouble. The corporates are just not funding. There's no funding coming from any of the major corporates that we've been dealing with in the past because of the economic situation. So at the moment it's very difficult keeping the centre running on a day-to-day basis.
The question I ask myself is what will happen to these children if they're unable to keep the center running?
If I was in Sinathemba, I'd be on the streets.
The lives and future of 26 children could drastically change. Without Sinathemba, these children would not be able to afford an education, a home, or even a meal. It will take the volunteers, the local community, and the community abroad to keep this project going. A small gesture can bring about a monumental change in a child's life.
Oh, cool. Hey, Leslie and Finn. This is cohort 6. This is Leslie, and she is in my cohort and traveled in every destination that we went to. And this is her dope husband, Finn. He's amazing at sound. I really appreciate him carrying the piano. What was I gonna go? Sorry. Cool. So basically, when we got to South Africa, we sat in a room and they presented 8 to 10 different services. Different presenters came and told us, but we didn't know about Sinathemba. So my friend Leslie had a great idea. She was like, hey Jill, let's sign up for Sinathemba. And I was like, we didn't even hear about Sinathemba. So the reason why she wanted to sign up was number 1, she wanted to work with kids from the streets. And number 2, she wanted to sign up was because no one signed up for it. So it basically was a blank piece of paper. So one of the most unfavorable services, I felt like, because no one came to represent and tell us what it was about, we kind of just came into the service blindly and just kind of showed up, which will be basically how a lot of people will come to their services not knowing what to expect. So flash forward. So me and Leslie, 3.5 months into our program, we were consistent, we were determined, but we were weary. We were very, very weary. Just because we didn't know what to do. We came in and the kids kind of stepped all over us. They didn't really want to do their homework. Our role was basically to help them with homework after school, and if anything, play with them after. So I want to read you a little part of a book There was one day after probably 3.5 months, we had 5 months there, a little girl came up to me and she was like, hey, can you read with me? And I was super excited. I was like, yeah, definitely I'll read with you. So she took out this book, and I'm going to read you a small passage from the book. So this is how she goes. So she started reading it with me. This is the passage. When we got to the mall, Mom decided to do some shopping. But Tim was stuck waiting for us outside the bathroom. Hey, Patty. I tapped on the door again. Come on out. If Tim has to wait for us any longer, he might explode. Slam. The door to the stall flew open. Ta-da! Patty stood before us wearing an emerald green velvet dress. She was smiling from ear to ear. Whoa, Ashley gasped. This is a cool costume. See? Patty flipped her long curly red hair over her shoulders. I told you it was worth waiting for. So I stopped the girl right there and I said, what is this book we're reading? Because I didn't know. And so the book basically was donated, and the book was Mary, Kate, and Ashley Twins, Adventure to the Mall. And so that kind of created a bit of a stir because I didn't know if this was relevant in this context. So me and Lindsay went home, discouraged again. And I said, we both always talked about what was the impact we were making. Are we contributing at all to these kids? So the next week, Leslie got really sick. She got sick for like 3 months. So I, of course, had to go by myself. And so I came determined, consistent, yet weary again. And so I came and I decided that day, since I was by myself, that I would want to come every day to my service. And what the key word for me was how to be intentional. So even though I felt like I wasn't good at teaching them or reading books with them, I felt like what was intentional look like? And I was like, maybe it's a word of encouragement for the kids. Or maybe it was just showing up because a lot of these kids didn't have consistency. Or maybe it was a hug. I'm not a very affectionate person. I get very awkward. Leslie's very affectionate. And so I intentionally gave hugs to these kids because I knew that was helpful. So on that day that Leslie got sick, I showed up at a long table just like this, and I sat with like 6 kids. And so that day I said, well, I'm just going to speak words into the kids. So like you saw a girl named Lachey, I said, what do you want to do when you grow up? She's like, I want to be a nurse. And I asked another kid, what do you want to be? He was like, I want to be a soccer player. And so I was asking each kid what they want to be when they grow up because I was excited that they definitely were like, they had hope for their next season of life. Then as we were just kind of talking, all of a sudden, these kids were like on the table. And they started to make drum beats on the table. And I was like, hold up. These kids are amazing. They play drums. And so I went home and I told Leslie, but from afar because she was sick, I said, we should try and raise funds to give these kids a drumming workshop. Because this definitely will be a way to help them express their creativity. So me and Leslie kind of brainstormed, and we came up with a few ways of how to contribute on our last month. So number 1, we wanted to give them experiences. With such a short time that we had and not a lot of funds, we decided to try and figure out ways to give them drum lessons, ice skating, who ice skates in South Africa. I've never heard of it, but they were super excited. We gave an arcade hour. That was by default. That was on accident. It was crazy. That wasn't on purpose. We also decided that we would give them sports equipment. Reason being, me and Leslie used to play hopscotch. What they used to use to save their place was a penny, a hair tie, and a piece of plastic they found on the floor. So me and Leslie were like, these kids definitely need to burn some energy. And number 3, the reason why I say rest for mama, because one day I said to mama, I was like, so when do you rest? She goes, I don't. And so me and Leslie were like, what can we do to help mama rest? And so we decided to make dinner one night for everyone, for like the kids and all the volunteers. It went well. We had hot dogs, and I don't remember what else. We had pizza, and that's what we did. And so how did we get into having quick funds? I did GoFundMe. I actually reached out and asked for my resources. I didn't really get a response. So I decided to look into it more, and I did a GoFundMe. I basically asked Mama first if I could do that because I didn't want to put faces of the children online, and I put their story. I got way more than enough. I got $100 more, and I got it within less than a week. I just raised about $640, but it paid for all of these things: the drum lessons, the ice skating, and this is for 28 kids, plus transport and sports equipment, plus their meals whenever we took them out, and their meals when we had a dinner that night. So my lesson in that was, through being intentional, I really think innovative ideas will be born. Definitely we came determined, consistent, but weary, but we kept brainstorming on how to best help these kids. So that was Sinatemba. So these are a few photos of the kids playing drums. One of our friends, Shervin, took them. And this. The great thing is, what makes it sustainable is this guy right here in the fur. He basically knew this organization and was communicating that he actually wanted to come every month for free to actually hang out with the kids a little bit more. So if there's anything we left that was sustainable, it was connecting this guy with Sinatemba. Seeing the need, he definitely felt like he should visit more and more. I just want to play, on my last day, they sang a song for me of thanks. It's just quick. I like to remember. It's so nice. So basically, during this semester, our first semester, what echoed for me and Leslie and my cohort? I mean, basically, why I say echoed is because echo is like repetition, something that just kept, like words that I kept reflecting on over and over again during my time abroad. And we thought about sustainability, immersion, collaboration, especially collaboration with the locals. That's really important. Funds, how? Development with the program or your own personal development. Relationships are key when you're abroad, and connections. Those are all very important. Overall, as you saw, a resident of Sinatemba said, if it wasn't for Sinatemba, I would be on the streets. And that was the why behind the what. And I think whenever you travel and you want to do service, you have to understand why you're doing what you're doing, what's behind everything. I love this organization, even though I didn't know it, because this woman, she had a heart for the children, and it was raw, and it was powered by her convictions of just wanting to shelter these kids, because she was also in that same story. So now we're going to go to next, Italy, which two of you are going to. One of you. You two. Sorry. One of you are going to. Leslie also came with me. We are a powerful couple because somehow we always end up working together. I don't know. So I'm going to give you a little bit brief history about Italy in a nutshell. Basically, at the moment, Europe is going through a migrant crisis. As you can see, 170,973 migrants are in Italy as of 2016. The reason why they call it a crisis is basically because they're unprepared to have that amount of people come and move and not know where to place or how to give resources to. I also want to discuss how the media also plays a role in this situation. Either they're really informative when it comes to refugees, or they sometimes create a sense of fear. Words that are kind of going around within Italy are refugees rob, refugees are stealing our jobs, refugees are doing drugs. These are a few images of how the refugees are being portrayed because of fear. which basically a community not really fully understanding the why behind the what of like why they're there. This is Siena. This is where you will be. It's so beautiful there. Just a little bit of background of Siena. They are very traditional, very, 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 very traditional. They have amazing food, like peachy. It's like udon noodles, but pasta. They have amazing gelato, and they really love the polio, and they live for the polio. It's basically like a horse race, and you got a lot of perks when you win. So this is the school that the area you guys will be roaming around. Luckily, the school that you guys will attend, Siena Italian Studies, is very aware of the crisis, and they're very present. They're in partnership with Pangea, which basically Pangea is a social cooperative that helps the asylum seeking process within Siena. During the semester abroad, our main objective was to help the refugees with the immersion process. Leslie, bless her heart, took over that, thank God, took that project, and I was basically a side supporter. But eventually we collaborated together and made up more ideas. My role within Pangea was basically trying to bring music and how I could bring music into this. So basically I have another story, as usual. Leslie and I had to go to Pangea to introduce ourselves. And if you know a little history about Africa, basically they've been colonized so many times that there's so many different languages within the culture. They were colonized by the German, the French. They were colonized by the Dutch, Americans, maybe some Italians. They just have so many different languages. So basically they wanted me and Leslie to come in and introduce ourselves, and we were kind of wondering, how can we communicate to like 10 different languages in one room? How is everyone going to understand? So it was me and Leslie and a few other people in our cohort who stood in front of a bunch of guys and a few girls. And Leslie came up with her energy and was just talking about how excited she was to really help them immerse, and we learned Italy together. So then I came up and I was like, what am I going to talk about? I wanted to help discover music within Siena, because that was what I thought would help. And so I came up and I said, hi, my name is Jill. I'm excited to meet everybody, and I'm excited to explore music together. And I just did drums with my hands. The whole atmosphere changed within the room. It's because even though they didn't fully understand what they were saying, they knew what drums meant. And that's when it hit both of us about how music is this international language that everybody fully understands. So flash forward, this guy's Fofana, this was the event or the project that we started. So many communities were involved in this project. We had these guys, well, one of them is from Pangea. We also had RebCam, which you'll hear about when you're there. RebCam is a different organization. So I'm just going to take you through all the communities that were involved, because it's good to know the foundation of why we did what we did. I volunteered for an organization called RebCam while I was there, but I just supported Leslie because I wanted to just be on her team. And so I worked for an organization called RebCam. And basically, Siena Italian Studies, they help with an organization that is in Cameroon, Africa. A few fun facts about Cameroon is they're known for their coffee, cotton, bananas, oil seeds, and their cocoa. They've had the same president since 1982. And they're actually ranked one of the second most dangerous countries in the world, mainly because there's a lot of attacks, kidnapping, terrorism by a man named Boko Haram. And basically he created a group, and it basically translates into Western education is sinful. So that's, and so basically in Cameroon, there's 22 million people, and there's 78 functional prisons. At the same time, there's 26,000 people either in or waiting to be in prison, meaning in 2016, there's 54,000 children who do not have parents because they're incarcerated. The reason why I tell you this, because this is Mama Claire. She's amazing. She's in charge of this organization that Siena Italian Studies is partnership with. A little story about her. She was a school president for 11 years. And one day, she started to notice that a little kid that she knew, 12 years old, kept stealing books every day. And she didn't understand. So finally, when she confronted this kid, he said, I'm stealing books because my mom's in jail, and I think if I steal books, I could visit my mom. And so it was just as simple as that. And so she decided that her main role was going to try and connect and keep that relationship with the kids and the incarcerated parents. So that's one of the services that you guys can look into, Pangea or RebCam, kind of helping that move forward. There's many communities that were involved. Oh, sorry, I'll just leave that there. Basically, also a role that we had was to connect with not just Cameroon, but the Cameroon locals who moved to Italy, because we can get better ideas on how to best help, right? It's best to ask the locals of how to help the community. So we had a meeting with the Cameroonians who lived in Siena. There are a lot of students who have scholarships, which you'll meet, who live in Siena and are taking language or communications. Basically at this meeting, I proposed an open mic. I thought maybe we can bring all these communities together through music. And so this is how this was born. This was the second one that we did, called One Love Cultura. It is in Italian. I had an Italian write it because I do not know very good Italian. And it basically saying it's on March 29. There's going to be a bit of a happy hour, then there's performances, and then a DJ. And also who was involved in this was Siena locals. And we had a lot of American students. So what were the main objectives of this music intervention or open mic? We basically wanted to utilize music to help with the refugees with transitioning integration. I was reading articles on how music helps with immigration. Also, I wanted to make sure that that we would connect and collaborate with all communities that we were involved in. Siena locals, the Cameroon students, the American students, and some of the refugees that Leslie was working with. We basically wanted to create an intercultural space that would bring everyone together to kind of mix and get to know each other. We were also hoping to bring awareness to raise funds for RebCam. We also were hoping that it would slowly start to break stereotypes, especially because there's such a negative perspective on the refugees and what they're doing here. And we're hoping that this project would be sustainable, hoping that it would do it every single year. Is this one? Okay. What were my challenges? Communicating ideas in Italian. I did not know how to do that. What was my second one? Convincing the Italians. It was very, very hard to try to convince the Italians that this could work. Because it's hardly ever done. To bring all these people into one space, to get a venue, to create a place where we can donate. It just was kind of unheard of. Funds is always an issue. Definitely look into that always while you're there. And relationship building. That was the most challenging part for me. What did that look like? It looked like me giving time to every community I was involved in. It looked like me hanging out with the Cameroon students for graduation or parties or DJ sets. It looked like me going to a Siena's locals contrada and hanging out and having dinner there. Or it also looked like me building relationship with the undergrad, the American students. A lot of what you're going to need to do is build relationships, create a trust. When I first came there, when I first had this meeting, and you're going to mix with all these different cultures, we had a meeting with this Cameroon organization. It was like a bunch of students. So I came in, and the one leading the meeting was somebody who was Italian. And so I show up 5 minutes early, and the Cameroonians come right on time. The Italian leading comes 10 minutes late. So it's me and the Cameroonians come in with their arms like this, and they're just staring at me. And there's no smiles on their faces. And so I kind of come sweating because I'm feeling nervous, And I'm like, hey everyone, and I'm like, so glad you came. You know, he's on his way. He's just grabbing lunch. We'll definitely start this meeting because we wanted to connect with them. And so I came in sweating, and I just felt like I was running a race. So in the end, the Italian comes in eating half the sandwich. And I was like, where are you? And so we have this meeting. In the end, I proposed the intercultural project, and it goes well. But basically, I think those are things to think about, that different cultures have also a different sense of time. And that first impression was huge, because even one of the Cameroon students said to me, I'm going to listen to you for 5 minutes, and if I'm not interested, you won't get any of my time. So that was key. I didn't know it was key. He told me later. So overall, this is one of the videos of that night. This guy's name is Fofana. It was hard to find a djembe in Italy. It's quite impossible. I just want to point that out. Cool. These are a few photos. That's my team of Cameroon students who wasn't smiling when I first met them. This was the second event. We had actually Siena kids come in, so it brought in a lot of Siena locals the second time around, parents. So it doubled. This is Leslie hanging out. I don't know what's happening. I think she's singing. And this is me and a Siena local. I sang a song by Alicia Keys called Holy War. I don't know if you guys heard that song. Listen to it. It's pretty dope. Cool. So this last side it's about celebrating your wins. Basically, if there's any, this is in Italian. I'm not going to translate Google app that because I don't know. It's basically announcing that we did like a multicultural benefit within Siena and giving an announcement. That's the team. There's Leslie. And then Andrea is the guy right beside Leslie. And then we have some of the Pangea guys. We have some of the Cameroonian guys. It's amazing. This photo basically symbolizes what that event was. It was a multicultural space that we can all share music together. So lessons I learned, which I think is really, really important. Lessons I learned when you are abroad and you're doing service and you're getting weary. Number one, I think it's really, really important to be intentional with your everyday, because like me and Leslie, we weren't always going to get the best response. The kids were going to step on us. They weren't going to pay attention to us. Kids used to say, when we would say, hey, let's do your math homework, they'd be like, okay, I'll be right back. They never came back. We're like, where'd she go? Because I really believe that when you're intentional, innovation will come, will be birthed. Number two, be open. Like I said, not everything is going to look like what you thought it would be. But there's always a lesson to learn. There's always an impact that you can make on everybody that you meet. And there's always a life that you can change. Also, make sure to really try and understand the culture. For the first 2 to 3 months, I think it's good that me and Leslie kind of just observed. We kind of always debriefed about what we observed from that moment to kind of make sure we approached it in a better way every time. Number three, I said be willing. Leadership is not about being a boss, which I realized. It's about leading with every opportunity that's given to you. It's basically doing whatever it takes to get the job done. You could lead throwing the garbage. You could lead managing a team, which I did. You could lead playing soccer with the kids. You could lead taking photos. But basically, that's what leadership is. It's doing a small job and it's doing the big jobs. Number four, I say be thankful, because sometimes I think it's going to be hard to be thankful. Basically, it's an opportunity given to you. And be thankful in a way where when you get to wake up in Italy and help refugees with their immersion into Europe, like, it just doesn't happen. It's not an opportunity that everybody gets. And number five, which I think is very important, be committed. Basically, finish what you start. If you start a service, finish it strong and finish it well. Definitely make sure, because a lot of these organizations don't have a lot of consistent people, or consistent people in their lives like Sinatemba. And so I definitely really think it's good to remind yourselves to be committed. I basically want to end this last thing. Oh, cool. And then you guys can have questions after. Just a quick video that me and Leslie made of the guys in Italy. She wanted to, so basically in the end, Leslie made these really cool awards. And it's documents that would help prove to Italy that these refugees are down to immerse within Italy. And so these documents were actually helping their status. And so she had like an award ceremony and gave each guy a cool document that they can give to the government, I guess. But we had this little ceremony and we made a little video, like a 2.5-minute video of just our time together in Italy and different events we did with them. This song is the song they love. That's why we chose it. That's all. We watched a movie together in Italian. Out the wall in Siena. This is a music event with jazz. We just hung out and listened to that playing music. They like to take photos. A lot of that. We're walking through Siena. This is the first event, the music event. Cool, so that's pretty much everything I learned and everything we did in our past 2 years. And so if you guys have any questions, I wanted to kind of give Leslie the opportunity, maybe if you wanted to talk about something that you learned or something important when you go abroad.
Yeah, I mean, Jill covered it very well. I think we were both, it was an honor to work with Jill. She brings a lot of energy, as you can see, and music into it, which is an international language and definitely made a huge difference for each project that we worked with. But just, I think you've touched on it. Being committed, I think, is very important. Being consistent. We found that sometimes your service, you might not be getting what you expect, and so you can, work through that, maybe reflect upon that. But in the end, it's all a learning experience for yourself, and it all does make it an impact. And if you guys are interested in any of these, we do still keep in contact, and especially in Italy, since we were able to stay there a bit longer, we would love to continue, or I would love that someone continues it and continues to make it sustainable. And SIS, the school in Siena, is very willing to continue with it. And I would say the hardest thing is, it's the best and the worst, the kind of double-edged sword, is you build these relationships and then you have to say goodbye at the end. And so it's not to keep like keep yourself open because you don't want to guard yourself, even though that is very difficult. But I would say keep yourself open for that, because if you guard yourself, then you really won't get the full experience, and people can feel when you're guarded. And so always keeping that open, and that it's hard to say goodbye, but in technology, you can always keep in contact. So yeah, I would say keep that up.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
If there's any questions, comments, if not, it's all good.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
So you were talking about when you were, I guess, working with the Italians, trying to like prove that like this will work.
Yes.
I get, like, I like understand where like they could have that kind of like, we don't know what did you do to convince them?
I vented to Leslie a lot. I was like, it's gonna work. I kept pushing for it, and I actually was connecting with others who I knew were on board. So I basically was talking to directors about my idea, and I was making sure that being very vocal about my ideas. And so even though the reason why I knew that there was skepticism is because things were taking longer, and I was like pushing and pushing, like, so what I did was I created my own community, which was the Cameroon students, and we pushed forward with the project. But me also respecting the high director and letting her know everything were going on, she was totally on board. I was just having a little bit of just Siena locals weren't super on board, and so I kept pushing through, and I created my own team, and I made sure the director knew exactly what I was doing, and I was communicating. So after the project went down, it really changed mindsets of Siena locals that this is actually possible. So when I got asked to come back, everybody was like hands on deck, and it was like triple the amount of people showed up. So I think just keep pushing, but being respectful with like what you're trying to communicate. And I had a really good team. I mean, Leslie was super on board. Pangea was on board. It was just the one that I really needed to convince was a person who has all the connections within Siena, who can get me the venue, who can invite the people, who can invite people to sing. But honestly, the second semester, amazing. We got on the radio. He had connections here. He super loved it. And so it just shows like your consistency and your determination can really change people's mindsets.
That's really cool.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for letting me hang out
Thank you.
and show you what we did.